Nashville singer-songwriter Sam Rochford. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for coming on the show. I love having different types of music, different type of guests. It is a sports show, but I love having a variety of different people. So thank you for coming on.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Definitely. So you're a singer-songwriter. You've worked in radio. I wanted to get some background on how long have you been singing and songwriting and loving music?
Well, I've been loving music my whole life. I've played guitar and sang, in choirs and with my dad from when I was in elementary school. But I didn't start writing music until I was 18 or 19. I would be around a campfire with my friends, and I'd have my guitar just to sing covers. And I started making up songs about the dumb stuff that my friends were doing. And they were really bad songs because they were improvised on the spot, and there may have been alcohol involved. But, I caught the bug, and I started writing more serious stuff after that, and I haven't stopped.
Wow. I was, talking and looking up a lot of different things that you've done. And Inktober, which I thought this was amazing, you wrote a song and posted a video every day in the month of October. And I'm just wondering how did you even do that? And what was that like? I mean, you got to be extremely creative to be able to do anything like that.
Well, I didn't sleep a lot or see any of my friends for the whole month of October. I really made this commitment to creating and putting stuff out there, and every other part of my life sort of was in the back seat for that whole month. But it was fun. I feel like I came out on the other side of it having learned a lot about writing and about social media and marketing, which is a skill all in itself.
It truly is. I mean, I'm learning myself that social media is amazing. You can use it with anything, with business, with work, with music, with whatever you want. It is amazing
100%.
what you can do with it.
The music industry is not the same as it was 10, 20 years ago. My career would not exist without social media. I'm not a traditional artist the way that they would have been just a little while ago. Most of my income and most of my fans come from finding me online, not from finding me at a concert, which is crazy to think of. There's sort of no rule book for this anymore.
Right.
Possibilities.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, that was my whole thought.
Yeah, possibilities are endless. SoundCloud, people have made a music career off of putting things up on SoundCloud, which is it's $9, I think is their highest plan, or $20 a month. So you just think of how big and how amazing the music industry has become. And we're talking with Sam Rochford, Nashville singer and songwriter. What are some influences in your music that you portray or go after?
Sure. So some of my my earliest musical influences, like I said, I played a lot of music with my dad growing up, so it was a lot of Bob Dylan and Jim Croce and the Beatles, and whatever his music taste was in the 70s and 80s was just sort of imprinted on me as a kid. When I first started writing music, I listened to a lot of the Mountain Goats, which are an indie band based in North Carolina, which if you've never heard of them, you should totally check them out. And now I'm really inspired by the music that's coming out of Nashville. I love Jason Isbell's new record, The Nashville Sound. The Secret Sisters, who are, I don't know if they're actually based in Alabama or Nashville, but they're great. They sort of sound like the Everly Brothers, but they're two girls instead of two boys, and they're just fantastic.
Yeah, I think the Nashville scene, just for music, is amazing. I watched a documentary on it, and it was talking about the different artists that have come out of Nashville, talked about the variety of music, and I think it's amazing. To me, being able to write music, perform music, sing, period, is to me is amazing. I can blend in with the voices, but if you want me to sing along by myself, that's not a good idea. And I've heard some of your music, and I do enjoy it. We'll play So Easy a little bit later on, but what's the key message in your music, or that you want to get over to the listeners?
Well, I think with my music, it's less about getting a message to other people, and it's more about me expressing myself. Like, all of the music that I write is either personal to me or personal, like it's a story about someone very close to me in my life. I have a hard time like making up stories and writing about them. From the moment I started writing, it's always been about like something that's right in front of me, either that's happening to me or happening to the person next to me. So I guess I just want people to sort of see what's going on in my life when they listen to my music. But in terms of like an inspirational message, if you watch my Inktober series, because I talk about the songwriting process, I want people to take away that, like, you know, you're capable of more than you think you are. And if you put your mind to it, you can sort of accomplish anything.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think, you know, it is, if we could just know that we can do bigger and better than what we think we can do, I think that's, if we could live life that way, just to know that there's more inside. And yeah, your Inktober videos were amazing. So on this show, we have a chat room, so it's very interactive. So if I may give you a question from the chat room, if you don't mind, because people are interactive and wanting to know. So the question is, are you a country artist? And this was from Vince Wright. He has a show also.
I'm going to give probably a more complicated answer than you were expecting. People call me a country artist. I think I'm charting on an independent country chart right now. But I grew up in Connecticut, and I would never consider myself a country artist if you asked. But I think fitting people into labels and genres like that is more about other people than about what you say about yourself. So if you want to call me country, you can, but I just make the music that I make.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like a lame answer or not, but that's how I feel.
No, that's a good answer. I think that's a good answer. I think and this is everything in life, we put everything in a box, and it may not necessarily be there. It may not necessarily be one particular thing. Like this is a sports show, but I talk to so many different artists. I talk about different sports, different things, and I think that was definitely a good answer. Another question. So you are actually in Nashville now, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and that was from Truck D in the chat room. So this was, and we're talking with Sam Rochford, Nashville singer and songwriter. You've worked in radio, and you've done a lot in radio, and that is a future dream of mine to be able to do that full time. And I wanted to know, you know, what was it like working in radio, number one? Number two, what would you tell to someone that wants to go into that career or has aspirations to go into radio?
Working in radio was the most fun, real job I've ever had. Being a musician doesn't feel like a real job sometimes because it's so unpredictable and insane, and you know, you file taxes differently, so it just feels different than a regular job. But being in radio is really, really fun. I worked in internet radio when I was in Boston, and then I worked for WSM, the Opry station, for a year and a half in Nashville. And it's amazing to be on that side of the music industry, to get to meet artists and people running charities, and it's a cool side of the music industry to be on. There's really nothing like it. And it's what they don't tell you, and I'm sure you know this just from running this show, that what sounds really professional and put together on the radio, if you're on the other side of it, if you're on the production side, it's amazing how it's really just held together with Scotch tape. It's really like everything's going wrong, and if you're a professional, you just sort of power through it and you act like nothing is wrong. But things go wrong all the time in radio. That's something you don't know until you work in radio.
Oh yeah.
But I was
definitely.
If you want to get into it, if you want to get into any part of the music industry, it's I would say my best advice is to just start meeting people that work in radio, or work in whatever part of the industry you want to get your foot in the door. I think meeting people is the best way. So it's how I got in radio for sure. It's just knowing the right people and asking the right questions.
Right. That's true. And I think, like there's so many things that could go wrong. I mean, I had a moment where I had two people on the show and the show just drops. It's basically, you're like, what do you do? I mean, you got people listening, which they're not hearing anything. So you almost gotta improvise. You have to call an audible. I mean, there's radio is amazing, and it could be nerve wracking at the same time because you want things. I want everything to sound perfect, but when it's live too, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be perfect. So,
absolutely, I think the mark of somebody that's a good radio host, because you can't plan for mistakes, like they just happen and they're out of your control, but if you can roll with it, it makes you a good radio personality. And I think I've become sort of a snob as somebody that does a lot of radio interviews now, that every once in a while I'll get somebody that just can't roll with the punches, and when technical difficulties arise, because they always do, they just can't deal with it. And as somebody that's worked in radio, I'm just like, come on, you gotta just pretend like this isn't happening. Right,
exactly. Just roll with it. I mean, you said it. You said it right. So,
and the same thing comes being a musician. Like, the same thing comes with being a musician. Like, there's technical difficulties on stage. You forget the words sometimes. You miss a note sometimes, and you just gotta plow forward. But I've seen musicians in Nashville all the time that just, they miss a word and then they can't recover. They just get too nervous or whatever. But in any sort of entertainment industry, you just gotta keep going.
That's true. I mean, I've seen so many performances where you have, I mean, probably the one I think about the most is Beyonce. She falls down the stairs, gets back up, pretty much like nothing ever happened, and continue the performance. For me,
and she'll fall gracefully and get back up in like a way that's like super fierce. She is the most incredible performer I've ever seen live.
Yeah, I mean, for me, if I would have fell, I mean, I probably would have rolled up into a ball and cried. I mean, because I wouldn't.
Me too.
You got so many people there watching you, and that's what happens. But that she's a performer. She's excellent at that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So your most recent song, "So Easy," which, like I said, we'll be playing later. I wanted to just allow you to talk about that song. What was the motivation? What's the concept on it? And kind of give people a preview before I play it.
Sure. So I wrote it for my little sister's wedding, which is weird because she's my baby sister, and now she's married and has a baby of her own. It's a weird thing, but it was this very small ceremony. My brother actually officiated the wedding, and she wanted me to be part of it too. So I thought, why don't I write a song? I'm better at expressing myself that way than just speaking. So I wrote this song, and I only expected to play it for my family and the small group of people that were attending the ceremony. But, I've been making music for a long time, and I can tell the difference. My family's always going to be supportive, but I can tell the difference between when they say, oh, I like that song, and, oh, I actually like that song. I can tell the difference between them being supportive because they love me versus when they actually like something.
Right.
So I got this reaction holy cow, that song is good. And then I started showing it to more and more people, and I kept getting this reaction you have something special. So I got it recorded professionally and released it as my first single. I made a music video, which took me 2 months to make. It's a lyric book that I made by hand and flipped through it in time with the song, which was fun, but also sort of like Inktober, why did I decide to put so much work into something? But I really like how it came out in the end.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It is. It's a fun video. Something I'm definitely going to Put that in the chat room so you guys can see it.